Hey everyone, how are you? This is Jim Prusak. I'm a physical therapist at the Pain PT, and I want to talk to you guys today more about pain, chronic pain. And today we're going to look at the definition of pain, and we're going to move from the sensory side of pain to the emotional side of pain today. We've been talking a lot about how to deal with the sensory side of pain, which are these symptoms in your body, these feelings you get from pain, and how to deal with them, how to overcome the fear of them, how to sit with them without resisting or reacting to them. And this whole premise is based on the idea that with chronic pain and chronic symptoms, they're not dangerous like we see with an acute issue in the body or a pathological condition, structural condition. Okay, so once we've ruled out pathology in the body, then we can move to the brain and nervous system. Now, let's go to the definition of pain because this really is what we want to be looking at. Like, what is pain? Now, the definition of pain has been updated this year, 2020, from the 1970s. And the current definition of pain is this: it's a sensory and emotional experience with associated potential or actual tissue damage. Now, we just talked about how a lot of chronic pain isn't really actual tissue damage in a lot of cases. Now, if you come back to that beginning part of the definition, it's a sensory and emotional experience. So, we talked a lot about the sensory side of pain and how we deal with those feelings in the body. And today, we're going to talk a little bit more about the emotional side of pain and how we deal with those emotional feelings that come up. Now, one of the things that we commonly see with chronic pain and other chronic health ailments are two things that show up a lot. They're not everything here, but they're two parts of emotion regulation or how we deal with our emotions. One is a lot of people tend to suppress or repress their natural feelings. And this comes from their personality, from how they were raised, how they deal with things. They have a tendency to push away, gloss over, minimize, rationalize, say things like, I shouldn't feel this way, I shouldn't think this way, I'm not going to worry about this, no big deal. And so that's a form of repression or suppression. And we see this a lot with people with chronic pain. And this is what Dr. Sarno talks about in his books. There's another thing we see with emotions in chronic health conditions. It's quite common. It's been studied more and more recently. It's called alexithymia. I did another YouTube video about this in the research. So we have a lot of research showing that alexithymia is strongly linked with chronic pain and chronic health conditions. And so again, what is alexithymia? It's this inability to put words to feelings, to express our feelings in words. Okay, so again, people that have alexithymia have difficulty feeling feelings, emotions, and then actually describing them or putting words to them. So we want to look at the emotional experience of pain. We want to look at your emotions just as much as we want to look at the sensory side and how we deal with that. Okay, so let's talk just a little bit today about how to deal with these emotions and from the perspective of repression, suppression, and alexithymia. So one of the things that can be helpful for you guys to start to get in touch more with your emotions around things in your life is to look at the stressors and the life pressures you have and your day-to-day interactions with people in certain situations or places, and notice when you have this tendency to, again, gloss over, minimize, rationalize, manipulate, say it's not a big deal, start to say, I shouldn't feel this way, I'm going to think positive about this, I'm going to let this go. Because a lot of times you are already triggered with an emotion and you've buried it inside. Now, you can learn to not be triggered. You can learn to reappraise on the front end of a situation and not be triggered emotionally, but a lot of people are. We're human beings, we do get triggered. And once we're triggered with emotion, we really want to feel, acknowledge, and express that emotion. And because of our society and our personality, we don't do that a lot of times. We hold this stuff inside in various ways. And if you were to look closely at your own life, you might notice this pattern as well, where you tend to sort of hold back your feelings because you can't express them. It's not a safe situation, or you have fear around expressing them, or that's your personality pattern, and so you kind of go along with it. I certainly had to learn to get in touch with my feelings, my emotions, and learn to express, acknowledge them, because growing up, I never learned how to do that. So here's sort of an easy way that will sort of force you or encourage you to look at the emotions. So we have four primary emotions. This has been studied and shown in the research that there's four primary emotions, and off these four, there's a whole bunch of other emotions that can arise. But let's work with the four primary ones. And these are happiness, fear, anger, and sadness. Now, happiness is one that we pretty much all seek out. We're always looking to be happy. We're always putting on a smiley face. We want to feel good. But that's only one of the four primary emotions. What about the other three? The other three, we have a tendency more apt to avoid, repress, gloss over, not want to feel, acknowledge, or express. And this is fear, anger, and sadness. So, what you can do with any stressor in your life, any pressure, any situation, um, and especially if you notice your symptoms spiking or going up, or when you reflect upon when your chronic pain or your chronic symptoms started, and you look back to what was going on in your life, you can sort of look at those things and take these four primary emotions and insert them and let yourself consciously think about those things. Okay, so what are the stressor, pressure, or situation is or was? Say to yourself this. Let's start first with fear. Okay, you can say that you're afraid that you're scared that, I'm scared that. And then you can let your mind run internally, with silently speaking internally in your mind, let your mind run with thoughts. I'm scared that, around this situation, stress or pressure. You can also journal this as well. Um, I personally use just sort of in my own head, silently speaking and letting this run. But you can do it either way, journaling or with silent speaking or silent thoughts, silent feelings. So I'm scared that. Okay, so this addresses fear. The second one you're going to say is I'm mad that, I'm angry that. All right, that's going to look at the anger piece and force you to reflect on this and be open and honest with yourself. I'm mad that, I'm angry that, in relation to this situation, pressure, person, place, whatever it is. And then the third one is I'm sad that. Okay, so you can kind of work down this list and just keep coming back to phrasing it this way, that I'm scared that, I'm mad that, I'm sad that. And you can insert other emotional words too that come in as verbs, like I feel guilty that, and whatever it might be. But you want to put a word, an emotional word in there, and you also want to see if you can stay in touch with your body. And this is why it can be helpful to work with somebody else when you're doing this, to really also feel the feelings in your body, what it feels like to say I'm scared, or I'm mad, or I'm sad. Like, what are these feelings inside you, so you can get in touch with them. What we're trying to do is to teach you to get in touch with these feelings that you typically might not even know you're avoiding or pushing away, right? And to learn to put words to these feelings, to reduce the alexithymia potentially, and to reduce the repression and suppression that people do around emotional feelings. So I'm going to encourage you on a daily basis. You can take 5 or 10 minutes and think about some of these stressors or pressures, or around your pains you want associated with pain or health symptoms, because that's what we're talking about here. Look back in time or currently when you're getting spikes of symptoms, what's going on, and force yourself to name off these emotions and be open. Really be honest with yourself. Don't gloss it over and say, "Ah, no, I don't feel this way. It's not a big deal. Oh, he meant well." All these reasons that we can kind of just push it aside. So instead, let's directly sort of confront these feelings that could be there and that could be hidden. These are the unconscious emotions that Dr. Sarno talks about. Okay, everybody, give this a try. This is another piece of the puzzle for pain, especially for chronic pain. And again, come back to the definition of pain, which is a sensory and emotional experience. So we want to work with both sides if we can to get the best results. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye bye now.